Welcome, heroes and villains, to the Fjook Enterprises YouTube channel. This is Fjook's Table, and I'm your host Fjook, and with me at the table today is Unholy Magpye.
Hello again, everybody. Hope you well. I think this is the fifth kill I put in.
Did they also put a new survivor in the new update, or just the new killer?
Just the killer. This is why, when the leaks were coming out, before it was confirmed it was Hellraiser because of an actual leak, but the teasers, when leading up to the teasers, to the reveal, they were basically teasing Five Nights at Freddy's, Springtrap, and Hellraiser, and they were doing all these hints that hinted to both. For example, they released, this video cassette, really old, VHS. They put a VHS in the TV, and it's staticking, you don't see VHSs around nowadays. And it said 1987 at the top, but it looked like a security kind of TV as well. But it also looked like the TV in the scene where Kirsty summons the Cenobites in Hellraiser 1. And it said 1987 at the top. And there's a big lore event in Five Nights at Freddy's where it's called the Bite of 87, but also Hellraiser was released in 1987. So they were keeping, they were purposely making it so it could be either. It could be either. And I thought it would be FNAF because I thought, how are they going to release Pinhead without Kirsty Cotton, right? Because it's like she's like the Laurie Strode, right, of Hellraiser. But it turned out to be Hellraiser, so no, they haven't released a survivor yet, but apparently they're releasing an original survivor, meaning one created by Behaviour themselves, at the mid-patch, the mid-chapter patch. So it'll probably be in about 1.5 months.
How often does Dead by Daylight get patches and updates?
It doesn't get bug fixes anywhere near as much as it needs to. For example, one of my recent videos, I highlighted how they left the last-gen consoles, the Xbox One and the PS4, in an abysmal state during the anniversary event for 2 months, basically. Frame drops, game freezes constantly. So sometimes they won't even update it for 2 months. Sometimes they'll bring a hotfix out within a few days. So it's just whenever they want, really, because they don't seem to have any rhyme or reason. But when it comes to content, it's a new killer. It's a new killer, and they usually come with a survivor every 3 months. Which, when you think about it, it's quite the workload, and it shows you why the game's kind of a mess. I love the game, don't get me wrong, but because they're the only, contender in the genre, they just rest on the laurels. I really wish some good competition would come along and give them a kick up the ass, if you get me. The Predator game that came out, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Predator, that came out with a 4v1 as well, and Evolved. The goal is to kill the other team, whereas Dead by Daylight, you have to escape. It's escape or die. Do you know what I mean? There's no in between. It's escape or die. That's your only two options.
So, do you think the Five Nights at Freddy's would have been a good killer for this game?
Personally, yeah. There's obviously a lot of controversy surrounding the creator, Scott Cawthon, because of his donations to certain political organizations, which there's no point going into, obviously, but so taking that aside, aside the moral and ethical implications of supporting a creator that you might not agree with on a moral and ethical level, just aesthetically, I think it works fine. I think the animatronics in Five Nights at Freddy's are terrifying, from a concept point of view, because it's you can go, oh, it's just kids, but it would be terrifying. You know what I mean? As an adult, would you just shrug it off? You know what I mean? And for me, once they put people in there like the Trickster and the Legion Bunny, which I know is from Silent Hill, and we've got Dwight, who can literally dress up as an elf and a literal Christmas box. If you want, I can send you some photos so you can like put them up and show like how like insane these outfits are. But do you know what I mean? Like, there's the rotting animatronic is easily more of a match for the theme of this game than the sexy maniacal K-pop star, which I love. Like, I don't get me wrong, I love the aesthetic, right? It's great, but it, like, you cannot on one hand say it doesn't fit the game, because that was people's main complaint, and then on the other hand be okay with people walking around in onesies, in animal onesies. Like, you have people running around in reindeer onesies and penguin onesies, and it's like, this is, I mean, the game's past being just spooky and horror, you know what I mean? So personally, I think it'd make a good fit, and there's a fantastic DVD concept trailer made by some really talented folks showing what a good Five Nights at Freddy's concept would be.
Does Dead by Daylight license kills? Is that how we got the Cellobite?
Yeah. They basically talk with they basically, like, obviously they go to the license holders and that kind of thing, and you know, set up the contract. But obviously beyond that, it's just mere speculation. But speaking, they've just lost the license to that. So on the 17th of November, they will be pulled off sale, and the map from the Stranger Things TV show will no longer be playable in the game. Anybody who's purchased the characters beforehand will be able to still use the characters. But after that, after November the 17th, if you don't own Steve, Nancy, or Demogorgon, and you can never buy them. Again, they will essentially become collector items inside the game. And on top of that, if you haven't played on Hawkins Laboratory, you won't be able to. Not on the live version, anyway. You might be able to get like an archive version, you know, they do with like World of Warcraft or Minecraft. But on the live version, it's going to be taken out completely. So, yeah, they secure the licenses, but they sometimes fall through as well. I say sometimes, it's only once. But another interesting example is they only got the rights to the mask. They didn't get the rights to Scream. They got the rights just to the mask, just to the Ghostface mask. So, whereas the shape, Michael, like behind me, whereas the shape, his lore in the game is the same as the Halloween films, right? It mentions Laurie, Dr. Ludus, and all that. But Ghostface's lore is completely original to behavior, because they only got the rights to the mask. So he's got nothing to do with the movies. So it's just one of those like bizarre ways how they only got the license for a particular piece of a killer.
No, I don't know a lot about this game, but I do know that survivors have trainable perks. Do killers also have trainable perks?
Yeah. So survivors and killers, they all level up through the blood web, and that's where you get your items, offerings, and your perks. When you get to level 30, and this applies for both killer and survivor, you will get a chance to unlock that killer or survivor's teachable perk. Once you unlock it, now it will appear in every other killer or survivor's blood web. Just for the record, the survivors and killers don't share any perks though. So, but yeah, when it comes to the perks, each killer and each survivor has 3 unique perks. At level 30, you can unlock the first one. Level 35, you unlock the second one. And level 40, you unlock the third one. And then they will appear in all your other killers' blood webs.
So, the Cellobite perks, what are they?
Oh, I can't remember the name, but I can tell you what they do. One, basically, when a generator is completed, the next generator... Actually, like, it's worth explaining how, like, the game objectives first. Basically, as the survivors, you have to complete 5 generators and then open one of the escape gates to get out, or escape through the hatch. When you complete a generator, if one of his perks blocks the next generator that's the closest to being completed, so the one with the most work, and it highlights it in white, so it literally tells the Cellobite, hey, you need to go over here and pressure the gens over here. And is one of his other perks is creates so many special types of hooks, because as the killer you have to hook the survivors 3 times, each survivor 3 times, but you can't hook them only once or twice if you keep them on the hook long enough, or the last survivor, and basically it turns so many hooks into scourge hooks that when they get saved off that hook, they'll have hemorrhage effect, and basically they will be slower to heal and they'll leave more blood. But when they're fully healed, now this is the unique part of the perk, they will have a certain percentage reduction to doing any gens or any actions, basically, other than opening the gate, I think, and searching chests, until they are injured again. And then the other perk, Hex Playthings, once you hook somebody, when they're unhooked, they will be oblivious, which means they won't hear your terror radius. So now they have to use their eyes. Because when the killer comes close, you get that like, dum dum dum, you know what I mean? And you get the terror chase music. But with this perk, he creates a hex totem on a dull totem, which means that you'll be oblivious until you destroy it. And nobody else can destroy it for the first 90 seconds other than the person who's oblivious.
So, do all new killers cause power creep?
Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. It's the most powerful killer still remains the first DLC character. You know, the nurse, how she can blink through and teleport. She was the first DLC character. And she used to be stronger until they nerfed her. But even nerfed, she is still the strongest killer in the game. And she was the first DLC character. In fact, when you look at the last 4 DLCs, including Hellraiser, 2 of them came out incredibly weak. Like, one of them, the Trickster, which, the K-pop maniac, he was literally called the D-Pipster, which is basically, a joke on his name, and you would, lose pips, which makes you go down in rank. And, yeah, so it's honestly quite the opposite. Even Pinhead, he's tons of fun, but as a viable, he's really weak against good survivors. He's really weak against good survivors because he's so easily counted. He's basically like a clown with extra steps, but with more risk. And he has this issue where if the survivors keep hold of the Lament configuration, they can deny you the most powerful part of your base kit, your power, which is exactly the problem that they had with the twins. But they still did it again. And this is the thing with behavior. This is why I feel like they're just kind of resting on the laurels, and why I hope that some competition comes along to give them a kick in the butt, because right now they're literally making the same mistakes again and again. Do you know what I mean? They made this mistake twice before, once with the plague and once with the twins. But
it sounds like they need competition. Yes, I agree with that. It also sounds like that while the killers aren't power creep, it seems like the perks are.
Not really. See, as good as that perk has the potential to be, it still doesn't touch Ruin, which is a hag perk, Undying, which is a blight perk, Tinkerer, which is a hillbilly perk, and then you can use any number of things here, like Pop Goes the Weasel, which is a clown perk, Sloppy Butcher, which is a generic perk, which is available to all killers from the start. So the blight came out, I think 1.5 years ago now or something, and ever since then, you haven't really got a perk that's entered the meta massively. I mean, although there is Nemesis's perk from last time called Lethal Pursuer, which shows you the auras of everybody for 8 seconds at the beginning of the game, and then that's it. Well, 7, 8, or 9 seconds, depending on what tier you have. But again, this is as good as this is, and it is great for the record. You know what I mean? It still doesn't change the fact that Ruin, Undying, Nora is just like such a oppressive build on loads of killers. Not all, like obviously, like a lot of killers, have their own special, unique perks like that suit them best. Like Monster Abuse is great on Myers, and saying these are the only perks you can use. I'm just saying that these are still the strongest perks. These are the perks that you put on when you've had a crap day at work and you just want to steamroll people. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You just want to. That's it. No mercy for anybody. I'm putting on these perks, and that's it. Screw you. I don't care about your fun. I don't care about what you want. I am steamrolling you this game, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, there's been no perks, in my opinion, anyway, that have been to that level since. Certainly not to the point where you could call it a power creep.
Is that a good thing?
No. Although, see, this is the thing. So Survivors came like Jill and Leon came with some really fun perks. Flashbang and Blastmine, these are really fun, and it's been really nice to see new perks enter the meta, but it doesn't change the fact that the strongest perks still remain Decisive Strike, Borrowed Time, Dead Horde, and probably Adrenaline, maybe. Like, obviously, basically the top 10 perks haven't been changed for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So I just I'm not saying we should have a power creep, but I feel like behavior is too afraid to make afraid to make a really good perk again. The last two perks that come to mind that kind of shake up the meta is Nemesis's Lethal Pursuer, which was the last one, and Blight was about a year before him, I think, which with Undying. But like for example, all the twins perks are crap. All the Deathslingers perks are crap. I'm not saying like they can't get good use out of them, because you'll see like people, people like Ots can make anything work almost. But in terms of strength, like you would never put these perks anywhere near the top of the perk tier list. Is my point. I'm not saying they can't work. The thing is, you have people skilled enough at this game that can win and get a perfect score without any perks and any add-ons. You know what I mean? Because they are that good at the game. But you don't balance around the top tier of the game, because that would be silly.
What are add-ons?
Add-ons are as a survivor, when you take an item like a flashlight or a medkit into a trial, you can, for example, on the medkit, you have 16 charges, I think it is, basically one full heal, and you can add more charges, like you can put in bandages to give you more charges and more heals, or you can put things in to reduce the number of charges you have, but it heals quicker, or you can have stuff that reduces gives you more skill points, gives you more blood points and score based on like stuff you have. Same with flashlight. You can put an add-on to make it blind longer, or make the batteries last longer. With the killers, they have a set power. So, for example, like the Trapper has his bear traps. For example, you can take in an add-on where now you can carry extra traps, right? So say you take in a yellow bag, now you can carry 3 traps because you can only carry 1 trap base. And say you take in a Bloody Coil, which is one of his Iridescent, the powerful add-ons, you can now, when the survivors disarm a trap, it will put them in the injured state. If they're already in the injured state, it wouldn't do anything. But now when they disarm your traps, they pay a price. And that's why it's an ultra rare add-on, because it's extremely powerful. So when you use that for both survivor and killer, it will get rid of the add-on. Like the add-ons will be gone at the end of the game, unless you're using something called a black ward or a white ward or ace in the pocket for survivors. But yeah, other than a perk and 2 offerings, unless you're using an offering, the white ward and black ward. White ward for survivors, black ward for killers. They save your add-ons. And the offerings are every survivor and the killer can put in 1 offering at the beginning, and they all turn over at the beginning. And, it can be like increased blood points for everybody, including the other team. Just increase blood points for yourself in a certain objective. Increased space between hooks. Increased number of chests inside the game. Or, in the killer's case, you can bring a Mori, which allows him to do the execution. Instead of hooking you, for your third hook, he can just kill you with a special animation, which is unique to every killer.
How would you describe the Cellobite's Mori?
Amazing. It is honestly it's so ridiculously brutal.
For those watching this video, skip ahead 2 minutes if you don't want to be spoiled.
Okay, so the way the Cellobite works is he doesn't actually hit anybody. He summons one of the chains and slaps them with the chain. So he never gets his hands dirty, kind of thing. It's quite funny. Basically, the survivor stands up and he just looks over there, and chain comes out, and another chain comes out. And I don't know if you've seen the Hellraiser 1. I know you said you watched the movie, you read the comics, but in Hellraiser 1, this is, spoiler. Although if you've already skipped ahead. Basically, this is how Frank Cotton dies. And you get and basically the chains, they get like half a dozen chains in them, and it literally is ripping their face, and the face contorts, and they're screaming because the cheeks are literally being pulled apart. And then he summons a portal underneath them and summons up this piece of wood with loads of spikes and knives on it, and he goes, "I will tear your soul apart." And then he pushes them onto just with his telekinetic powers, right? Pushes them onto the portal, onto this piece of wood, and then they just go into the portal and disappear. That's it, they're gone. It's insane. Like I say, you see, you know what I mean? Like say in the movies, this is how Frank dies. Obviously, he gets pulled apart completely in the movies. It's proper old 80s cheesy horror campy gore, the kind we love. But in DVD, even though it's an 18+ game, there isn't actually any gore. So, I mean, this is the, you know what I mean? You get a lot of cutting through and that kind of thing, but you don't ever get anybody severed. The most you'll get is the clown cutting someone's finger off. So seeing them literally the faces contorting in pain as the chains pull at them, it is brutal. And again, hearing him speak. Cool.
So it sounds like you have fun playing as the Cellobite.
Yeah, because you can create portals, and then through the portal, one of the chains come out, and you control the chain. And if you hit the survivor is now chained. And then another chain will come out and hit them again, and now they need to break the chains. The only problem is it's a bit weak at the moment. It's really easy to unbreak yourself, unchain yourself. But the concept of the power, assuming they tweak it in a good direction, is just great. And like I say, when they start messing with the Lament configuration, you can teleport to the person messing with it, and then the chains come out of the box to keep them there. And he does the whole, you open the box, so I came. You open the box, I came. And then you teleport there and you start slapping them for messing with your Lament configuration.
So what's the advantage of survivors messing with the Lament configuration?
Good question. Basically, he has a passive power, similar to how people fall asleep with Freddy. Over time, they'll fall asleep. Well, with him, the chains of hate around, a chain icon around the survivors' avatars, will slowly fill up. And once it fills up, those chains that I talked about, how you can aim yourself. Well, now the AI constantly does that. No matter where you go, constantly opens up portals on each survivor, right? Doing that. Can you imagine how oppressive that is, right? But if they get the Lament configuration, now it only does it on that survivor. The problem is, you can shut down, as you can tell, that Chains of Hate passive is incredibly powerful. The problem is, if one survivor takes Lament configuration, now only they will be pestered by that, and they can hold on to the Lament configuration as long as they want. It's only once they start solving it, which will put all the chain hunts. We'll set all the chain hunts and reset the chains of hate. Once they solve it, then it all resets, and that's when Pinhead can teleport and that. But again, the survivor can just keep it instead of trying to solve it. Now all the other teammates are unmolested by the chains, and you've literally shut down half of his kit, which is exactly what used to happen with the twins, where somebody would steal Victor, the little baby gremlin thing, and just basically kidnap him for the game, because then she just becomes a standard killer with no power. It's not quite as bad as that with Pinhead, but the issue is currently the other half of his power isn't really worth using in most situations. So you can basically turn him into just a standard no power killer if played from an optimal point of view, which is a shame. I don't think the survivors should have the power to shut down the killer's power like that. Which it goes back to how we were talking earlier. I was telling you, for me, one of the great things about DBD is the fact that you are a unrelenting, unstoppable killer. Unless the survivor decides to keep your power for themselves. You know what I mean? It's just kind of a contradiction in the design philosophy, in my opinion.
So they eventually fixed the fact that you could take Victor, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so you can still steal Victor, but now, after a period, you can recall him. So I'm hoping they'll do something like that. But what I don't get is how they did this twice in a row. Not in a row. How they did this twice. Because before it was the plague. Basically, the meta was when the plague gets you sick, if you don't cleanse against her, it doesn't matter. Because now she just becomes a standard killer with no power. Who you're all injured, but still, if you use the loops correctly and use the resources, the pallets correctly, vaulting, that kind of thing, you don't even have to be like a god tier looper. Just loop optimally, decently. You will easily destroy a plague in that case. So what they did, when you cleansed, basically you gave the plague one of the most powerful weapons in the game. You gave her the red puke, which is essentially a stream of hatchets, like the Huntress's hatchets, but it's a stream of them. So she pukes this massive machine gun of streaming red puke, which can damage multiple people, and it's just, you know what I mean? So why would you give her that? You know what I mean? You're not going to give her that, are you? You're going to keep. You're just going to stay sick. But now what they've done is they've given the plague one pool to start with, one corrupted pool. So she'll always at least have access to it at one time, and you only need it one time. If the survivors don't cleanse, and you use the corrupted purge, you can end the game there and then. And even if you don't end the game there and then, you can do immense pressure. Because think about it, you're running around a loop, and I do this machine gun of, essentially hatchets when it comes down to the hitboxes. This puke, how are you going to avoid it? You know what I mean? It's really easy to down with that. It's insane.
Do you have any idea how they'll fix the Lament configuration?
Not really. I mean, I'm thinking, maybe if just basically do it, if they don't solve the Lament configuration within a minute, just put it back into the map. When you pick up the Lament configuration as Hellraiser, as Pinhead, and you do the box, yeah, it instantly opens 3 portals at every survivor, chains them with 3 portals, and makes them scream. So, but only the survivors can see the aura of the Lament configuration. You have to kind of just hear it as you're walking by.
Well, I'll have to have you back at the table another time on Unholy Magpye, because I really enjoy talking to you, and you really enjoy this game.
Okay, so when are we getting Fjook Plays Dead by Daylight series?